Unit 4 Iteration. Topic 4.3 Developing Algorithms Using Strings. The information in your Java Quick Reference Guide under String Class will be useful in this topic. There are standard algorithms that utilize string traversals to find if one or more substrings has a particular property. Given a string value, can we confirm that a particular substring exists within that string? What tools in Java can we use to solve this problem? We have the .substring method that retrieves a portion of the string. The .equals method compares the content of two strings. The .length method returns the length of a string, and a for loop can be used to repeat a task. Notice that a for loop is recommended because when working with strings, the length of the string is usually the fixed number of iterations. Let's do an example. Given two strings, word and sub, start at the beginning of word to check if a portion is equivalent to sub. If it is, keep track that we found it. Check the entire string word and display if sub was found in word or not. Let's start by declaring our variables. String word equals sunflower, string sub equals low. Then let's set up our loop header. Where should it start? At the first index of word, which would be 0. Where should it end? Perhaps the end of the word, or word.length. How might you update the loop control variable? We want to go through each character, so we'll increment by 1. Inside the body of the for loop, I need to keep track to see if a portion inside word is equivalent to sub. I will need a variable for that. That variable will store the substring of word that starts at index and goes for the length of sub. Now we need to check if that portion equals sub. If it evaluates to true, I need to keep track that I found it. One way I can do that is by setting up a Boolean variable found and initialize it to false. If we find sub in word, then we can set the Boolean found to true. This technique is called a flag, which is used to signal that a condition exists. Once my computer checks the entire string word and completes the for loop, I want it to display if sub was found or not. When I run this program, an error displays. I get a string index out of bounds exception. Let's take a closer look to see what's going on. Visualizing information can be very helpful. Remember how string characters are stored. Let's go through each section to see if the substring low is in word. Yay, we found it, but we're going to keep checking the rest of word. Oops, our section goes beyond our parameters in our for loop header. What might we do to fix it? Let's look at the boundaries in our header. Right now, it stops at word.length, but we actually want to stop a little bit earlier. How much earlier? What about the length of our substring sub? Now if I run my code, no errors will appear. Let's test our code with other substring sub values. Let's try out sun. How about dirt? Look what happens when I check to see if the substring lower is in the word sunflower. It outputs that it does not find it. That's not accurate. What's going on? Sunflower is 9 letters long, and the substring sub is 5 letters long. So 9 take away 5 is 4. It's only going to go up to index 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. We're off by 1. We need to make one more adjustment to our code to guarantee that it will work with all possibilities. To fix an off by 1 error, we can set the relational operator to less than or equal to. Yay, now it works. There are standard algorithms that utilize string traversals to determine the number of substrings that meet specific criteria. Given a string value, let's find how many vowels there are in that string. What tools in Java can we use to solve this problem? Well, we can use methods from our previous exercise. The .substring method, the .equals method, the .length method, and a for loop. Let's start by declaring our variables. One should store our word, and another can store the count of vowels. We need to set up our loop header. Where should we start? Where should we end? How should we increment? Let's try finding patterns. Where is word.length being used? Inside the body of the for loop, let's create a variable that will store a character from word. We can use the substring I to I plus 1 to access one character. Let's compare each character to see if it is equal to any of the vowels. We can use a series of .equal methods connected by the OR operator. We can then display the results. There are standard algorithms that utilize string traversals to create a new string with the characters reversed. Given a string value, how can we create a new string with the characters in reverse order? What tools in Java can we use to solve this problem? Just as we did in previous exercises, we can use these methods. Let's start by declaring our variables. One way to do so is to store our original word, and we might need another variable to store an empty string called reversal. We can now set up our for loop header. Where should we start? Where should we end? And how should we increment? Let's visualize. One way to go in reverse order would be to access the last character first. If we choose this way, we will want to end at the first character. Back to our for loop header and its parameters. These parameters are very important if we're looking for a reversed outcome. Let's initialize our loop control variable to the length of the original word -1. We will continue in the loop until I is greater than or equal to 0. Instead of incrementing, we will decrement by 1. Inside the for loop, let's set up a variable that will store each character from the original word. We will then concatenate that character to the string reversed. Once we have finished and exited the loop, we will display the reversed word. You can watch the 4.3 AP CSA daily video for another way of solving this problem.